I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am. I am.
I am.
We are.
Hello everybody, welcome to today's episode of We Are DownStream Outdoors. Today we're coming up on the end of our series of We Are DownStream Outdoors. We only got one more episode of We Are after this one, and it was time to get me interviewed. And I could not think of anybody better to interview me for this segment than my own brother. This is my brother, Ken Downs, my older brother. And
Even though I don't look it, I look much younger than you.
oh yeah, thanks.
Yeah. yeah, that hairline. I think it helps. As long as my hairline stays good.
You're good.
I'm good.
All right,
I'm good,
all right. Yeah. Eventually, I'm going to do the whole beard comb over
That's
thing.
a good look, man.
Yeah,
I don't blame you. Yeah, I don't blame you. That's a good look.
But anyway, we got some video to shoot here. We're going to do a little interview. So you go ahead, you start your interview.
There you go. Very outdoorsy guy, my brother. He loved being outside. What really got you started in wanting to be outdoors? I know we grew up in a very rural area. Why don't you tell folks about that and how you got into just being such an outdoorsy fellow?
Well, obviously, you touched on it. We grew up in a very rural area. You know, our early life, especially our early life, we were half a mile from anybody. We were out in the middle of the woods. We had, streams around all the borders. Almost 30 acres back in the middle of the woods, and that was the lifestyle we lived. I mean, it really was. You and I, we would spend, time down along the creek fishing or just grabbing crayfish out and,
Salamanders.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun with salamanders. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had the beaver dams back then. We had beaver dams down at the corner of our property, and that was always a source of fun adventure, catfishing and things like that down there. The stream was everything. It was our play center, it was our swimming pool, it was everything to us growing up.
Every day we were surrounded by some sort of nature every day, whether we saw deer, whether we saw the beaver dams, the fishing. I mean, we were surrounded by it every single day. And you don't realize it until now you're older. I mean, in a lot of ways, it was really a nice way to grow up for us.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there could have been some things that were better in our situation when we were living there, but the environment was great. It really was. I mean, it was just the four of us, and, we were heating with a wood stove and we had a hand dug well out back, and it was hard times.
Yeah.
But I think we're better men because of it now.
I hope. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell.
I would like to think I'm a good man. I'd like to think you're a good man.
I hope so.
Fair enough.
Try anyway.
Yeah, that's all we can do. We try every day, right?
Every day, so.
But beyond just the environment we lived in, our parents, Mom loves her flowers, and she was always, this is this flower, or this is this flower, and Dad was, cutting timber a lot when we were younger, and so he knew all the trees, and, then we had Elliot Glass, who was our next door neighbor, who was a Native American, and he, knew all the plants and trees.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And he loved to impart his wisdom on us, you know what I mean? And then we moved away from it. Mm-hmm. We moved away from it, and but we were still pretty much in the middle of nowhere.
Sure. And we went from an area maybe where we weren't close to streams, but we were still close to, like, the best fishing, some of the best fishing in central Pennsylvania.
Well, not just central Pennsylvania. We moved probably about a half a mile from the Little Juniata River, off of Route 453 there by Union Furnace Stone Quarries. And, that is actually one of the best trout streams in the state perennially, and one of the best trout streams in the Northeast.
Tell me if I'm wrong, though. That time, I mean, we love nature, but I'm going to guess that time when we moved down off the mountain and we're that close to the Little Juniata, you were maybe not even a teen, maybe a preteen.
I was 9 years old when we moved off the mountain, 8 years old.
But when we really started fishing there, you were
before I was a teenager. Yeah.
Just, if I were to guess, because you love fishing, that's fair to say. I don't think there's any big mystery there.
Yeah.
But is that probably where the real true love of fishing came, or do you think it was even prior to that?
I think it was prior to that. I tell you the one story I remember from when we were living up there on the mountain. There's two fishing trips I remember from when we were still living on the mountain, and like I said, I was pretty young at that point. You and I, we were fishing on our bridge one day, and I caught a native brook trout out from underneath a rock.
I remember it well.
I remember that vividly. I remember that fish coming up out and grabbing that raspberry, and it was a 10-inch native brook trout in our little stream, which was impressive.
Insane. I mean,
Yeah.
usually we were catching, 3-inch,
Yeah, and we were happy with
chubs,
that.
little
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah, it was a great time.
And that story, that I remember, that stuck with me, and I can still visualize all that. And then I remember the four of us with buckets down in behind Grandma and Pap's, catching fish down in there. All four of us, me, you, Mom, Dad, all of us, we were down in there catching fish to bring home. And that's another, I don't remember when that was or anything, but I just remember all of us being down
You
there.
had to be awfully little. You have a great memory because I think you were real small when we were down in there fishing.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
4, 5, 6 years old. I mean,
Yeah.
I do remember it well as well. I mean, because the thing I remember about that stream was, I mean, you could catch so many different kind of fish. Like we were so used to going to like our little stream, and even though you caught that native that time, I mean, it was generally those little
Creek chubs, horn chubs,
that we were catching. And occasionally we go up to like Glendale, and it felt like all we ever caught was bluegill up there. And we went down behind off the spillway, and holy cow, it was like a whole new world. That was fun, and that was awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I have them early memories of it just being so much fun. You know what I mean? And I think that's why it stuck with me, because I don't know if you even remember, but not long after we moved down off the mountain, I actually set up with a guy down in Spruce Creek, Alan Bright.
I remember you learned how to tie flies.
No, I learned how to fly fish.
Oh, fly fish. Okay.
Yeah, and I was only about 10 years old at that point.
Sure.
And he set me up with a fly rod and a reel and everything. I just had that much passion for it that I actually went and I worked for him. I forget for how many hours I did a cleanup in his basement after a flood. At 10 years old, I cleaned his basement after a flood so that I could earn this fly rod and reel and these lessons and stuff like that. And I just had that. I just had that drive to want to be out there as much as possible. And not just the fishing, but the plants. You know what I mean? I'm sure you remember, and I'm sure you, with great disgust, you remember some of the plants we ate whenever we lived in the mountain. You know what I mean?
Some of them are really good though, as well. And
Yeah.
I haven't had since I was a kid. I remember there was one. Was it King Henry that we ate on a regular?
Lamb's quarters.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was that the one we ate regularly. It was
Yes.
like a weed in the garden.
Yes.
But we ate it regularly, and it was so good.
Yes.
And I haven't had it in probably 30 years now.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I remember it being really good. I remember some of the other ones not being as good.
Fiddlehead ferns. Not everybody likes fiddlehead ferns. I remember we ate them when we lived up on the mountain. But obviously, not just things like that, but we also went berry picking.
Oh, yeah, no, that was-
tea berries and
Sure.
chewing on birch bark. And, we had that experience of the wild edibles from a young age on. And then, this is probably something I guarantee you don't remember. For my 9th birthday, right after we moved off the mountain, Mom and Dad bought me a book.
Okay.
It was a North American wildlife book.
Okay.
And it was all the major plants, flowers, trees, animals, insects of North America, all in one book. And that was my companion, you know what I mean? I was going out and exploring, we still lived, really in a rural area, just not quite as rural as it was before. So I was out exploring a lot, and I would take that book out and go, okay, this is this plant, or oh, okay, this is this plant, I don't want to touch this. And I learned a lot from that book, and I still actually have that book. It's on my bookshelf.
Wow.
Yes.
Like
And I still pull it out and use it from time to time if I have a question on something.
Yeah.
It's still just that accurate of a book, which one of these days I'm going to do a book review and, recommend some books to you folks. But,
So, tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe I missed out on this because I was busy with my own family situation. But I mean, as a younger boy and even a teenager, you were very active in the woods, active in the stream, and then it felt like there was a time where maybe you stepped away from that. Is that accurate?
Well, there was a time that I did kind of step away from the outdoors. I'm sure you remember, during my early teen years, you were the driving force behind me fishing. Like, you and I, we were going carp fishing and bass fishing, and, we were out quite a bit. And then, you kind of went and did your own thing with your family, and then I got busy with friends and going off to school, and fishing kind of got pushed off to the side.
So how do you go from that to getting, like, it's very immersive in your life now?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it feels like it's very consuming for you, and it's certainly your passion.
Yeah.
How do you go from stepping away for it to finding the passion again?
Well, I had gotten back into fishing, and I was getting more and more into fishing, and then I had some issues with my family life that were fairly traumatic, and I needed an escape. And so I dived headlong into fishing. I mean, there was holidays that I was alone, and there was weekends that I was alone, and just if you're alone and sitting in your apartment when you're used to having your children and stuff around, it can be very hard on a man.
Sure.
And so I started fishing again, and I fished and I fished and I fished. I'd be out there in the middle of winter, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, every chance I got, I was out on the water. And it really was a saving grace for me. It really was. I say this all the time to people: whenever you have a fish on the end of the line, there's nothing else. There's nothing else in this world but that fish on the end of the line.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I mean, I certainly haven't went through what you've went through, but I've really rediscovered fishing in the last 3 to 4 years. Like you were, the way I helped you early on, you helped me rediscover it in the past few years, fishing again. And for me, my real job is very stressful. And so I'm able to just block out the world and stand in a stream and catch a fish. And for somebody that has a very stressful job, and you have that moment where you're only thinking about what you said, just thinking about that fish, getting that fish in, it takes my blood pressure, which is normally up here, down to a very reasonable thing. I mean, I thank you. I mean, for convincing me one day you've got to go fishing with me again, and we finally did, and I had a great time whenever we went. And it's funny how just being in the river can really just change your whole mood. And it's frustrating, but man, it's fun.
And the other thing is, I kind of introduced you to a completely new style of fishing.
Right.
That same day.
Yeah.
Because growing up, we were bait fishermen.
Yeah, bobbers.
It's what we were taught.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's what our parents knew. It's what we knew. It's what we were taught. And, it was in my later teens that I found the spinner style, and I love the spinner style of fishing.
Yeah. I do too.
It's really enjoyable. But, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to come. I love fishing, and I want other people to experience that love. Do you know what I mean? And use it. There's a great group out there called Project Healing Waters. If you get a chance, check them out. They have their website, Facebook, and all that stuff. Project Healing Waters works with wounded veterans who are coming back, and it may not be always a physical wound, it may be emotional, and stuff like that. And what it does is it teaches them the joys of fishing. Like, they'll teach them how to fly fish and cast, and then they'll take them out, and they'll actually take them fishing. Doesn't matter the disability, anything. They will have escorts to take these veterans out to fish, because others have realized the therapeutic value in being in the outdoors and latching onto a fish. And that's a group I strongly support. I suggest checking them out. And I just want to be able to share pretty much the same message. It's very therapeutic, and it helps me a lot, and I know it helps others. And I think the world would be a happier place if everybody had a fishing rod in their hand at least once in a while.
Sure. Let's change gears a little bit.
Okay.
A few years ago, you got into making your own lures. How did that come about, and how is that going?
Okay, well, that came about, it was never really a realm of possibility until I became a late teenager and actually learned about the spinner style of fishing. I had a high school teacher whose brother makes spinning lures.
Okay.
He's a fairly well-known fisherman in the area. I'm not going to name any names or anything because I don't talk to the guy, so it's not neither here nor there. But to realize that there was a guy out there who was making spinners in his house and using them and having tremendous success with them, I'm like, I want to do that. But I knew at the same token, okay, I want to do that, and yeah, these guys' lures work really well. I don't want to rip him off. I want to come up with my own design. You know what I mean? I don't want to steal his idea, even though they work really well. So that I came up with my own design, and it was one of the things. I met Aaron, and Aaron was a big change in my life. And she, pushed for me to live the dreams that I had, and I've had a lot of dreams, and I've been fortunate enough, and you've helped me with some of them, to live some of my dreams. Not too many people can say I've had a dream and I've lived that dream, but I ultimately have already. And that was before I even got to the fishing thing. And now that I'm doing the spinners and, video, I'm living another dream, and it's great. But she helped me make it a reality, you know what I mean? And we saved our money for a couple weeks and went out and bought the giant machine and went out and bought all the supplies. And the first go was the hardest. Because you had to buy everything at once. And I told her, I said, I want to sell these lures. And so she, she's got college degrees and things like that, and she works on computers. So she designed, advertising and things like that. And we went to a store, and Aquatic Invitation, Craig Strock, he gave us our shot as the first place to sell our fishing lures, and we'll always be grateful to him for it. Right now, we're still only in 2 stores, though. I've kind of slowed down on pushing on them. I've just been everything all at once, and it just I need to get back onto them. The future is I'm hoping to get in with Field and Stream.
Okay.
We're going to redesign our packaging system, make it a little bit more professional, more shippable than what our current packaging system is. And obviously we'll have to add a UPC code and all that stuff. And we're going to try to get in with Field and Stream. They're a Pennsylvania-based company, and they love young upstart businesses. So I feel like we got a pretty good shot at getting in with them once we make a prettier packaging.
Okay. So we went this way, fishing.
Yes.
Let's go this way, beekeeping.
Beekeeping.
So you seem very active in it as well. What is it about beekeeping that you enjoy?
Well, we're going to go all the way back up to when we were young and lived up on the mountain. There was bees kept at our property. They were not our bees, but they were bees that were kept at our property. And I had an interest in them at that point. And, it was something that it was in the back of my mind, I'd love to keep bees someday. And Dad kind of always had that same dream. He wanted to keep bees, and him and I, had talked long enough, and finally the right deal fell in our lap. There was an old man who was selling out. He was selling all his bees and all his equipment, and we went in and we bought everything. And that was the official start of beekeeping for Dad and I, and that was, every bit of almost 10 years ago. And we've been keeping bees, hopefully successfully, ever since.
You enjoy it?
I do. I enjoy working with the bees, which is weird because I'm actually allergic.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
I'm severely allergic.
Do you think about it the entire time?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not allergic, so I don't get in there like you do, but whenever I'm there at the farm and it's the middle of summer, I get real close to them and don't even think about it. But for you being allergic, I don't know how it isn't constantly on your mind.
Well, it's not constantly on my mind. Like, if I'm not working with my bees, like actually physically working, like I can walk right up to the beehives and, they'll fly on me and stuff like that, and that never bothers me. The only time I ever have to really worry is whenever I'm actually inside the hive and working, and that seems to be the only time I ever really get stung, which I do, somehow they always find a way in, it seems like, and I get stung usually about every time I beekeep. But what's weird is whenever I was younger, I wasn't allergic.
Okay.
And it was, even whenever I first started beekeeping, I wasn't allergic.
Huh, isn't that odd?
So I feel like it's one of them things I've been stung so many times over the years where my body's just like, nope, no more. Yeah. We're going to kill you next time.
Okay. Let's talk about, we're on it now, Downstream Outdoors, the YouTube channel that you have. What got you interested in that? How has your experience been with it so far? And what's the future of Downstream Outdoors as a YouTube channel?
It's funny how it got started. whenever Aaron and I first got together, she was living in Pittsburgh and I was living in Roaring Springs, and it was quite a distance. And so we communicated a lot. And one day I was going out I was going to tap a maple tree. I wanted to drink some of the sap. And she said to me, she said, well, take a couple pictures for me. And because I've never seen it done, I'd like to see what it involves. And so I just took my cell phone and I just kind of found places to set it up, and I talked to it. Mm-hmm. And I told her, I'm doing this and I'm doing it this way for this reason. And, I went through the motions. I didn't just, I'm drilling a hole, look, sap come out. I presented a video to her, and she said to me, as soon as she got it, she's like, we need to get you a camera. We need to get you started. You got enough knowledge, you need to share it with people. Mm-hmm. And so, once again, we put our money together and went out and bought what we started with was just a simple GoPro. GoPro 1. It was as basic could be, and I think we shot probably the first 50 episodes with just a GoPro 1. And since then, we've obviously added on quite a bit. As far as the future goes,
you're gonna keep doing it?
Yeah, I think so. Eventually, I'm gonna run out of things to do. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of small streams I can still fish, so there's a lot of episodes with that, and I've pretty well identified most of the useful edible plants in our area. There's still a few that I have not really touched on in our area, but I've now switched gears to where I'm taking those things and presenting them in a way people can actually use them, give them recipes and things like that, and show how they're prepared, as opposed to just identification and things like that. As far as the future, I don't intend for the YouTube channel to go anywhere. I would love to see a bunch more followers jump on real quick, you know what I mean? But they filter in here and there, and each one makes me happy. So thank you for each one of those likes.
Let me ask you about the edibles. You do quite a few episodes on the edibles.
Yes.
Is there ever a time where you find something, you eat it, and it makes you sick?
Not yet.
You've not found anything where you're like, oh, I thought this was this, and it ended up being this?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Now, some edibles taste better than others.
Sure.
There are some edibles that you can eat to survive. But am I going to go out and eat them and bring them home? No.
Is there, if you were to pick one of the things that you've done on edibles, and people would be most surprised to hear, this is so good. You've got to try this because it tastes so good. And it's just something, not something maybe people wouldn't expect, something unexpected, that if you tried this, you would be like, wow, that's incredible.
The one that I enjoy and gets most people that I've had taste, it's cattails.
Really?
Yeah. See, that's the reaction. Cattails, you basically grab them as close to the ground as you can. You pull them straight up out, and there's a section on them about this long on the bottom. It's snow white.
Okay.
And you take and you peel the outer dirty layers off, and you get a nice, clean, white piece of plant. Mm-hmm. And you can just chew that right off. It's nice and tender, and it actually has a very cucumbery taste to it.
Really? Okay.
Yes. I love sharing that one with people because it always shocks them when they realize how good a cattail can actually be.
Okay.
Yeah. Which obviously I'm gonna have to get you to try.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try it one of these days. You know how I am with things that are. I only eat about 4 different things, so it's been easy. It's been easy for my wife to cook all these years because she knows all the more that I eat. Okay, so we're getting close on time here. We're gonna ask just a couple more questions. One of the big ones I want to ask is, in recent years, I would say in the last 4 years, you have seemed so much happier in your life than what you've ever been at any point. And I have to think that Erin has been a big part of that. What has Erin meant to you? And what has she meant to all of your activities and all of your dreams and hopes?
Well, obviously, having somebody to back you, not just my family, which I have a great family. I couldn't ask for a better family, but having someone that's there with you every day and, wants the best for you constantly. you know, and wants you to be the happiest person that you can be. It does change you. It really does. When you go from just being miserable all the time to happiness and, you know, let's do it. Let's get it done. Let's do it. You know what I mean? Which Erin definitely has that, you know, okay, let's do it. She has that drive, and that helps, you know, when you have a second person there that has maybe not the same goals as you, but wants to build a life with you, and wants, because of that, okay, your goals are now my goals.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that it means a lot. You know what I mean? None of this would have been happening. I mean, I might have got some of this stuff rolling on my own, but not to the extent of what it's become.
Sure.
You know, because, you know, I had talked to a guy about maybe filming a video or two for me, and that was it. You know, it was never a YouTube channel. It was never, you know, anything like that. It was just, and Erin said, no, if you're going to do this, let's do this right. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that kind of support is, money can't buy that. Money can't buy that.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
So what's coming up for you? What's on the horizon? What else is left for you to do?
Well, I keep saying to myself, I need to write that dang magazine article. I have a chance to get published in a magazine, and the only thing that's been stopping me is me. Mm-hmm. You know, but not just that. I mean, by the time this airs, I'll be certified by the state as a state certified fishing instructor. You know, eventually I'd like to open up my own guide service and, you know, keep growing the lure business. And who knows, maybe the right person will see this YouTube channel and try to sign me on a national deal, but I kind of have my doubts. I'm not really holding my breath for that one. The rest of it, with enough hard work and enough drive, I know it'll happen.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
And maybe there'll come a day where I'll be paying other good dudes to be on TV for me fishing, but I doubt it.
Yeah. I mean, there's not enough hours in the day for you as it is to fish, right?
Right. Yeah. So.
Okay. So we've covered a lot here. Yeah. Not everything.
No.
But a lot.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap it up?
Man, it's just been a blast. I like interacting with you folks, especially whenever I see you guys live. I've been in Erie and had people recognize me, and, you know, down around Pittsburgh and just all over Pennsylvania, and who knows where else I could go and people might recognize me, just from this little YouTube channel, you know. And it means a lot whenever people come up and talk to me. If you don't see me in public, say something to me, you know, write a comment, you know, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, you know, leave us a comment. You know, we love to hear from people. Good, not so much the bad, but the good. But hey, we can always build off the bad. We can always build off the bad, right?
The bad motivates you.
Yeah.
I'll show you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've covered a lot. I'm sure you got a ton of footage. You're probably gonna have to edit this down because there's too much of it.
No.
Okay.
No. This will pretty much go straight
as
through.
is.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
yeah.
Lastly, thank you for asking me to do this. This has been really great. I'm sorry that you know, it's not the typical. This is my nerd cave. So if you could see the rest of this giant nerd cave, it's like this, but everywhere. So I'm sorry if this isn't your thing. That's my thing. But,
I don't think there's anybody that has a problem with Batman and the Hulk.
Well, you might be surprised.
Somebody's going to like one or the other.
There's a DC next to a Marvel. Somebody's going to be unhappy about that. Sometimes I'm unhappy about that. All right, very good. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. What's your usual closing on this?
Thank you very much. Have a great week.
There it is.
Yeah.